Keep a fire burning red in a Georgia representing if it comes hard here. Big up Kidaki, Buxton Massive. Hey Babylon boy, you going like you like come son. Red.
Never joke, never joke, never joke. Oh, money never, money never, money never, money never, money never, money. I know what you conniving, money. Money never, money never, money never, money. You can keep your conniving money. When you've been up for a bum, you have been tell me money. Now because your money done, you come with conniving money. When you had your pocket full, you have been tell me money. Now because your money done, you hustle for tell me money. Yes, money never, money never, money, money never, money, money. Now don't want you conniving money. Neighbor joker, neighbor joker, neighbor joker. That's all the money that me walk for. A 2 pound note and a kill that piece. A 2 pound note and a kill that piece. A 2 pound note and a kill that piece. This is all the money that me walk for. I said money never, money never, money, money never, money, money. I don't want you conniving money. Oh, Joseph.
Guyana and Guyanese, at home and abroad. Tune in the Guyanese Morning Time, hosted by Kadaki Amsterdam, where the sun always shines. Guyanese Morning Time, the people call it Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people call it Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. We rise up early morning watching Tom's TV, where wisdom and knowledge, yes, it is the key. Exposing corruptions over land and sea, where the wicked politicians they try to trick me. Guyana is a land for everybody. With 6 races should live in harmony. There's one set of people getting oil money. There's one set of people doing the thievery. Beep, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. This is a program that you all can see, sharing your views and your integrity. Like it, comment and share it all around. Pass it to your neighbor, safe and sound. A sad situation going on in this town. The voice of the people is getting trampled down. Out of the mouths of babes and sucklings, which as ordained me to sing. I sing Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time.
You turn you off and
the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, fooling the people. You're promoting evil. Stop lying to the people. You are a part of the cycle. Stop fooling people. You're promoting evil. Stop lying to the people. You are a part of the cycle. I say, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. They got Breakford, Bork and Mark Benchcop. David Hines and Kadaki Amsterdam. Sherrod Duncan, Nigel London. Normal Brown and Gavin Matthews. Big up Paslow, Port People Governor. Simona Brooms, Robin Simpson. Hampton Green and Winston Jordan. And yes, we can go right on and on. Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again.
The relatives and friends of young Wyndham Bacchus, they deserve justice. The family, the relatives and friends of our in Boston, they deserve justice. The family, the relatives and friends of Peter Headley, they deserve justice.
And so when we say that Guyana is an apartheid state, we have the evidence to show.
Hey fans, it's karaoke and oldies night this and every Thursday at Club Twilight Sideline Dam, Buxton. Dance to the magical songs of yesteryear by popular DJs and Camps Audio. Admission is free. Come out, let's make memories at Club Twilight Sideline Dam, Buxton North.
Comes out your son. You burn the swine when no why you shine. The tree of life, them no why you climb, cause them heart no kind. Comes, I say them heart no kind. Buxton Massive, Kidaki, Red Hat.
The People's National Congress Reform presents Emerald Splash, a Georgetown to Linden bus excursion and pool party on Sunday, September 22nd from Congress Place to the Toucan Complex poolside in Amelia's Ward. Music by Hot to Vibe Sound and LT One Man Band. Excursion tickets cost $5,000. Available at Congress Place Sophia. Venue entrance fee $1,000. Buses leave Congress Place at 9 a.m. sharp. It's the Emerald Splash bus excursion and pool party. Let's take a drive and bust a line with the PNCR.
You can get meat anywhere, but for the best cuts of chicken, beef, pork, mutton, and lots more, check out T&W Harris Butcher Shop located in the East Rheinveld Market Meat Section. Call us on 609-7168, 641-4494. Ask for Rastaman. T&W Harris Butcher Shop for the best in fresh cut meats and lots more.
And so when we say that
From Congress Place to the Toucan Complex poolside in Amelia's Ward. Music by Hot to Vibe Sound and LT One Man Band. Excursion tickets cost $5,000. Available at Congress Place Sophia. Venue entrance fee $1,000. Buses leave Congress Place at 9 a.m. sharp. It's the Emerald Splash Bus Excursion and Pool Party. Let's take a drive and bust a line with the PNCR.
Get a drive and bus a line with the PNCR. Yes, it's Emerald Splash Excursion. Y'all go out and support that. Morning, are you morning? It's 24 minutes past the 7 o'clock hour. You know, please and thanks, share the live. We have had some, let me just say, technical difficulties. Right? You notice the live which was started earlier just disappeared from us. These are challenges that you expect, and these are challenges you must be able to, must be prepared to meet whenever they occur. So don't worry yourself. We're back online, and that is what is important. We have the leader of the opposition, Aubrey Norton, lined up to come on to the program today. So with all due respect, share the live. Share the live. I don't tell you I share nothing. Because y'all, you know, y'all are big people. Adults, y'all gotta know what y'all want to do. Good? But I'm encouraging you to share the live so that we can get the audience up to speed. If you know of someone who views the program normally and you don't see them online, just hit them up and say, hey, the program is back. Right? Because some people might feel that because we got knocked off once, that is it. Especially if they don't get the new alert that we're back on. Please share the live. It's Free Talk Friday, so we ordinarily would be talking a lot of things. But this morning in particular, Free Talk is dedicated to talking with Aubrey Norton, leader of the opposition. And I'm sure there are lots of things that you would like him to talk about or you would like to talk to him about. I'm not sure that we'll be opening up the lines, but I'm sure that I am sure that you can type in your questions and, you know, as time permits, I will definitely have him answer them. So how y'all been? What y'all up to? What going on? TMHG. What happened yesterday that gives you hope for today? How was your last night? You made some money? They say Monday's a holiday. You might not be or something. What is Monday? Monday is a holiday. You making plans to make some money on Monday? You could come down and let me line by Club Twilight Monday, you know, and Gaff and so on. Good. It's 7 hours 27 on the 13th day. It's Friday the 13th. Some people say this by what happened this morning with the program, because Friday the 13th is usually seen as an ominous omen, right? People associate Friday the 13th with a lot of bad things. But I believe that good things are going to happen today. At least you are going to get to hear from the leader of the opposition. You were wanting to hear from him for such a long time. I noticed y'all fretting and fighting over 11-year-old giving birth. We're going to talk about that too while we are waiting. But you know, it no longer takes a village apparently to raise a child. So everybody minding their own business, and children are being sexually and otherwise abused, and so on and so forth. If that's the Guyana you want to live in, good for you. I'm very sorry if that's the Guyana you want to live in. But just understand that the rain doesn't fall in one man's house. Stop. Why are you doing video call? You didn't get through there? You didn't get through? Yes, as I was saying, don't believe that the rain falls on one man's house. Stop, you know. Right? As Mr. Jordan intimated yesterday, when you get seed, don't laugh, Goldie, man. It's a warning. You know, we African people like to speak in parables and proverbs and so on. When you get seed, don't laugh, Goldie, man. They say that to say that if you and I have the same things, the possibility is you at some point could experience the same challenges I experience. And so all of us are parents, all of us should be looking out for the neighbor's child, even if we got wrath with the neighbor. And that is where society has changed. That is the difference in society. I remember as a child growing up, big people get problem, picnic dare not put them out inside. Picnic dare not put them out inside. Yes, sir. All right. Let me check. No, you're still not there. Something wrong. You sure there's your phone still? Yeah? No, when I say you sure it's your phone still, I wonder if somebody take command of the phone. Yeah? All right, I'm setting up a link here. Don't worry yourself. We can get your link just now. Gotta get you. Yes, folks. So I'm telling you, you know, we have to stop behaving as though these problems, when they occur, they are only affecting the people who are directly involved in them, right? You have to understand that these problems have long-reaching implications, not only for families, but the wider society at the end of the day, right? Can you imagine a 12-year-old being impregnated by anybody in the community. And let me say anybody in the community, because this is what happens. If you have a 12-year-old that is impregnated by, many people argue that usually these things happen through close family circles and so on, the family member, etc., etc. That might be true, right? That might be true. But then ask yourself, if a family member can take sexual advantage of his or her own kith and kin, blood, as we like to say, what it would do to strangers own. And so when you recognize that you got a predator in your society who just preyed on his niece, nephew, cousin, or whichever family member, you have to be scared, because the possibility is one of yours could be next. And for that very reason, we need to speak out and identify the perpetrators of these. Send you the Zoom, you got it? Yes. All right, good. Right? You know, because when they can't pray on their family members, then they're going to do what? They're going to prey on other members of the society. Right? They will prey on other members of the society. Y'all remember the man who was minister who was accused of raping the 16-year-old Amerindian girl? Go ask about that family's history, and you're going to hear them say that they got a history of rape. They rape their family members, father rape niece or whoever, and so on and so forth and so forth and so forth. And then so then you see it happening in the wider society now, going into Amerindian communities and so on and so forth. Because we didn't do enough about it. It's their problem, let them deal with it. But just understand that at some point in time, it will become our problem. Good. And so we have the leader of the opposition here with us now. It's a trying morning, but we succeed eventually. All right? If you can't go through the front door, you go through the back door or jump through a window. But whatever you do, just keep moving. Allow them to bog you down. Good. It's 7 hours 25 minutes a day to clock hour. And so I'm encouraging you again, share the live, share the live. You know, these technical challenges arise sometimes because many people are not interested. Well, not interested. Many people would not like for the highest possible number of viewers to see programs like these, right? Because programs like these have a way of taking the wind out of their sail. I'll see what's been happening for the last 3 weeks with Winston Jordan and the PPP. Right? When Jordan comes here and addresses economic matters on Thursdays, then the PPP got their own trouble. My running out here also with T-shirt for host press conference and so on and so forth. Anyhow, we're here with leader of the opposition. Mr. Norton, welcome to the program. How are you doing?
And good morning to you and your viewing and listening audience. And I am fine.
Great. Thank you for your patience, because you were supposed to be on about 20-25 minutes ago. But these things do happen. And so,
well, I was ready, but I have found over a period that once I'm doing programs, for some reason, the internet gives problems or something gives problems. But I wouldn't put that far past the People's Progressive Party.
Well, like I asked you jokingly this morning, if you show the phone is yours.
Well, I can say I paid for it, but in this technological world, there are people who control things from behind. So
yeah.
That's all I would say about that.
The software is called Pegasus, freedom of expression, which we are supposed to be entitled to and so on, but people control it through all kinds of nefarious means. All right, let me give you the opportunity to, as I usually do, make your opening statements if there is any you would like to make, and then we shall proceed.
Well, I will begin by saying that one has to understand the society we are operating in today. Today, we are operating in a society in which I think three things characterize the government. One, incompetence. Two, corruption. And three, divisiveness. And then you have incompetent, corrupt, and divisive government. That in itself is a problem. If one looks at what is happening, one sees that there's the mismanagement of the Ghanaian economy. One sees that there's the absence of a plan to help the people of Ghana. There's a plan to accumulate wealth by the PPP, their friends, their families, and their favorites. But when it comes to the development of the people, clearly there is no plan to do that. And so that is also a fact of the society. We are operating in a time when the government seems bent on ensuring the resources from the state end up in the hands of their family, their friends, and their favorites. You only have to look at the allocation of contracts, and you will see that. But more importantly, you have a country in which there is budgetary allocation to the tune of $666 billion for infrastructure, when the society lacks the capacity to implement such programs. Over the years, what in essence has happened is that if you look at the years before oil, you would recognize that with a smaller budget in infrastructure, the government could not deliver. Many projects lagged behind. Many projects were incomplete. Yet with the advent of oil money, they sought to increase the budget extraordinarily. Clearly, the aim is to have resources at their disposal to accumulate corruptly. And so one has to not see infrastructure in this sense as infrastructure contributing to the development of people. Because a lot of the projects, they do not directly impact the economy and impact the people. And I like to refer to the road that they are building, the two roads they are building in Prashad Nagar. One which makes sense, and one which is clearly a parallel road to nowhere that will serve little or no one, but they go ahead with it and make money on it. So one has to be very clear that a lot of what is happening is not in the interest of the people of Guyana, but it is creating conditions for corruption. It is creating conditions for cronyism. One has to also recognize that there is a small core of people that are carrying away 90% of that money. And when you look at that core of people, a lot of them are linked to criminal activity. Many of them are under investigation by the United States of America. Many of them have had their visas revoked. So what in essence you have is a criminal class being linked with a political class that wields power. When you have the link of political power and criminality, a system of gangsterism emerges. And so in large measure, Ghana now ideologically is a criminalized state that operates based on gangsterism. They are creating a corrupt elite economic class that is not disposed to operating based on law. In fact, the destruction of the Procurement Commission and its non-use is a clear indication that they are not prepared to operate based on law. And it's a clear indication of the desire to use state funds to enrich a few at the expense of others. Also noting that it is very discriminatory in nature. And that discrimination is ethnic, political discrimination. Ethnic in the sense that it targets African Guyanese to marginalize them and ensure that they don't get contracts. And it's political in the sense of Indo-Guyanese who do not support the PPP, who are bent on living a kind of a decent life, are also marginalized and prevented from accessing the resources of the state. In every Indo-Guyanese community we visit, what the report is that there is a little elite of PPP persons who get all the resources and the majority of the people don't. And in the African Guyanese society, what they do is identify those they believe are supportive of them and they get to fill up membership forms, etc. And they are ensuring the crumbs go to them. We saw in Buxton the allocation of bridges for them to do. And everyone that I engaged in Buxton pointed out that they did not make $200,000 on these projects. So they are using the African Guyanese community to appear as if they are helping the community, but when you go to it, you will see clearly that what they are doing is using that like a facade. So people run away the impression that when you look at the reality, 90% or more of the resources are going to the elite contractors and to the cronies around the PPP so that they can benefit and the wider society is marginalized. As a consequence, it is impoverishing the African Guyanese community. It is impoverishing sections of the Indian community. It is impoverishing sections of the indigenous people. So one has to be very, very clear that the activities of the PPP are not aimed at providing a quality life and improving the life of the people. What they do is become involved in optical politics, where they do things to appear as if they are helping, when in essence, they are not. A consequence of that is that there is the increase in poverty, which is compounded by the high cost of living, etc. And so in the economic realm, they have organized the society in a way for the few around the PPP to get rich at the expense of the people. When you come to the economic realm, you will see that it is characterized by bribery and fraud. For you to relate to the political leadership, you have to be part of the corruption, the bribery and fraud. And this is not limited only to the economic realm, it is in the political realm, and that is why I put it here. If you look at what happened in the local government election, Barajagde himself had to apologize because the PPP signed for a dead person. And of course, no legal action was taken against them, even though the police was informed. That brings us to the second element of what is happening in the state apparatus. There is the politicization of the Guyana police force. And, you know, I must mention this. I think I saw a letter in which the president is asking me to confirm Clifton Hicken as Commissioner of Police. The truth of the matter is that most of the people in the top of the Guyana police force should be under investigation. Not a president writing you with all of these allegations against most of the top people in the police force, you are writing, you have the temerity, the audacity to be writing to ask me to confirm, for meaningful consultation, to confirm. Again, all I would say to you is that if you yourself wasn't corrupt, if you yourself had any sense of decency, you would have been instructed that Clifton Hicken and all those that are accused of bribery, corruption, etc., should be under investigation. There should be no consideration of this stage, at this stage, of asking to make the present commissioner of police, who is incompetent, who is neither certified nor qualified to become a commissioner of police. And so what you're seeing is an attempt now to legitimize the illegalities and to suggest some form of confidence in a corrupt police leadership by seeking to have some of them confirmed. I do not believe the Guyanese people want any of them that have allegations of corruption and malpractices against them to be confirmed in the Ghana police force. What the people of Ghana want is for them to be investigated, and at the end of the investigation, let the chips fall where they may. And so the politicization of the Ghana police force is one of the things that is critical to the functioning of this authoritarian dictatorial regime. Because as they do nonsense, you need a police to instruct. In any sensible country, in any country governed by the rule of law, Barajak Dale would have been investigated by the police for the allegations of bribery and corruption against him. You don't have to go very far. When you look at the documentary in Sugate, a man who babbles all the time, a man who claims to be fluent, was stuttering when he asked about Sue, which is indicative of the fact that there is compunction, there is a certain amount of guilt. And I will keep banging this, because if the head is corrupt, the body will be corrupt. And so this whole attempt to have the policemen that they identify, most of whom there are allegations of malpractices against them, confirmed, is a non-starter. Because what the people of Ghana want and are demanding is that they be investigated. But you need a politicized police force if you want to dominate and control the society. The PPP is not interested in democracy. They are interested in domination and control. They are so practical in nature that you had local government elections. You spend the world of money to defeat the APNU in your strongholds. You lost. But you continue to use the REO, the tongue clerks, and overseers to ensure the will of the people is not respected. And so those councils who would have engaged the people know what they want and put in proposals, the government not heeding the proposals. What they are doing is using these persons who are supposed to be serving the council to damage the work. The case of Linden, where a person ran on the PPP list, the PPP law, and rather than manifesting basic decency, you take this person who would have run, lost, and you illegally make that person the town clerk with the sole purpose of boycotting the council, of undermining the council and destroying local democracy in Linden. That is essentially what they are doing in all the regions that were won by the APNU, and they cannot be talking about democracy, because if something as simple as local democracy you cannot allow to flourish, how will you allow national democracy to flourish? And national democracy will not flourish because you are destroying the institution. You've destroyed the Guyana Police Force. You've undermined the Guyana Defense Force and transforming soldiers into cleaners of the city, while there are problems at our borders, etc. And in some regard, I think they are seeking to belittle the joint services by the work they give them to do. The joint services has always had professional people that can manage, but even that they are undermining and bringing them down to merely serving at the will of the PPP rather than following the Constitution. And then you see the political realm, what they're doing to trade unions. When they came to government in 1992, they were vibrant trade unions. These are the people that like to talk about democracy. But they have destroyed virtually every trade union. And the GTU, which was standing up to them, you can see what they did. They manipulate at least one or two persons in the leadership. They produce an agreement that will not serve the interest of the teachers at all. And then you come up with this facade about the other elements of the package that will help teachers. The bottom line is the package is ridiculous. And unless teachers can get a minimum of 35% increases in wages and salaries, nothing much is happening. But you continue to destroy the trade union. You have destroyed the public service. In two ways you have destroyed the public service. You ensure a preponderance of people on contract so that they can challenge and live up to the rules of the public service, because if they do that, their contract will not be renewed. And those public servants who are still there, you instill fear. One of the characterizing features of this dictatorial and caring People's Progressive Party is the installation of fear in the people of Guyana. Now, when the CCTV was set up, the aim of them, really, they were to solve crime. It would have become part of your information technology capabilities to solve crime. You had a crime on Main Street in which there is CCTV cameras, the president is up the road, the prime minister's up the road, they obviously have cameras to protect themselves. And a policeman indicated that the cameras did in fact show what had happened. But suddenly your cameras aren't working and you cannot bring to justice the persons that would have murdered Paper Short. This is reminiscent of when the PPP came to power in 1992, something that people forget. You had a functioning Guyana police force. The PPP came to power October 1992. And by April 1993, Monica Reese was thrown out of the back of a vehicle. The evidence suggested that it had links to PPP people. Until now, that crime cannot be solved. And that particular crime initiated the action in which people believe they can murder, and get away with it. So, following that, extrajudicial killing, murder by PPP elite family and friends, all of them protected by the state. And so the Guyana Police Force gradually lost its ability to enforce law and order. Let us not forget when Slow stood up to them because they wanted him to return a weapon to somebody who had violated the law and he refused. Let us not forget that PPP has created a regime in which the law is not the main focus. It is who violated the law. If the person or persons violating the law has linked to the PPP, like is the case of the allegations against Jack Dale, the police cannot move. They cannot do anything. If Hicken wants to obtain the support of the leader of the opposition, first, let him investigate the allegations against Barrett Jack Dale. Let them put out the footage as it relates to the murder in front of Palm Court. Show that your aim is the maintenance of law and order. Charge those in the Guyana Police Force that have wealth way over and above their ability to earn legally. But they cannot do that because the leadership of the People's Progressive Party cannot do that either. I have challenged both Jack Deo and Irfan Ali to put out in the public domain their wealth, put it against their income, and if it can stand the test of time, I will accept their positions. But as it stands, it cannot stand the test of time, and therefore it is evident that they are involved in corruption, serious corruption. So apart from destroying local democracy, destroying local government, they have destroyed the Guyana Police Force. And now they seek to politically control and dominate African Guyanese communities. They seek to politically dominate and control indigenous communities. And they seek to dominate and control the Indo-Guyanese community, people in Indo-Guyanese community who do not support the lawlessness, the corruption, and the incompetence. And so, having politicized the Guyana Police Force, they now use the law to both prosecute and persecute people who do not support them. And so it has become a political tool, rather than a mechanism to enforce law and order. When you develop that kind of dictatorial infrastructure, you cannot be involved in transparency and accountability. And so the Guyanese society today has no transparency, no accountability, and even more important, this government is so barefaced that they changed the rules of the Public Accounts Committee so that their stewardship of the economy cannot be scrutinized. They changed the law on the 13th of April 2022, the day I was sworn in as opposition leader. They changed the law from the Public Accounts Committee quorum being 3 members, whether they were from the opposition or not, to 2 from the government, 2 from the opposition, and the chairman. And then what they do? They stay away so that they cannot be a quorum. Here you see the PPP using the law, not in the interest of the people, but to protect themselves, hide their corruption, and ensure that people cannot scrutinize them. So there is a lack of accountability. In the process, they have deprofessionalized the entire society. Merit, performance and merit no longer matters. Being competent no longer matters. What matters is you must be a crony of the People's Progressive Party, doing their bidding, and all you do therefore is destroy the society and ensure that the society becomes lawless because there's no respect for the rule of law. There is, I would say, a Wild West situation in Guyana. And then what does the PPP do? They come and talk as if it exists in a democratic society. In which democratic society Barry Jagdeo would not have been investigated? In which democratic society Dharam Lal would not have been brought before the courts? In which democratic society the present president will not be investigated? There are serious allegations of corruption against most ministers of government, yet there is no investigation. So I want to say to the Guyanese people, do not be carried away by all this talk about democracy. This government has systematically, structurally destroyed the basis of democracy in this society. And if your political and economic domination and control isn't enough in the social realm, you have no structured policies to help the people of Guyana. Even the cash grants you gave are part of your political manipulation, domination, and control. So you are here again pushing the people of Guyana into poverty. Education is in crisis. I don't think anybody would challenge that. But education must be in crisis if you are in a society in which people could emerge, never attended a proper university, but they purport to be qualified. The last time I saw a TV for one of the policemen who they're seeking promotion and confirmation for, probably the best qualification was his birth certificate. Out of the blue, suddenly he has a master's, no diploma, no first degree, nothing at all. Look, you have a regime that does not care about law and order in the society. And this society has become a lawless society. And you do all of this, you now try to say to the Guyanese people that the APNU AFC did nothing. Well, I think former Minister of Finance Winston Jordan in his two programs recently would have put that to rest. But I still will ask a few quick questions here. Which decent and honest Guyanese will say that under the coalition, electricity didn't improve? The only people that will say that are the PPP and the cronies who are benefiting from this situation. They keep spending money. A boat arrived that was supposed to solve the problem. They're so ridiculous, the blame bird. All right, the fix will happen with the birds, but there is still blackout. It is incompetence. Which Guyanese will argue that under the APNU AFC, that water didn't improve? Water was being delivered 24/7 and was being expanded to many areas so that people can get potable water. The only people that don't recognize that is the People's Progressive Party elite. The average Guyanese agree that water improved significantly under the APNU AFC. Which Guyanese will argue that law enforcement did not agree, did not improve under the APNU AFC? Again, only the PPP elite and the cronies who are plundering the Guyanese society. Former Minister Jordan would have dealt with this, so I don't want to go much further except to say, Kadaki, this to you. Do not worry with those who say your program isn't impacted. They said regularly that, Opposition leader Aubrey Norton isn't doing anything. But once I go into committees, meet people, and put the problems out there, expose them, they run to the community like little children. The people in Perfect Harmony will tell you that after I visit, suddenly they got a program to do the roads. The people at Little Africa will tell you after they flew in there, and they don't got to fly all around because we are expanding our work, and we will bring out and expose what they're doing across the country. We just exposed corruption in the Ministry of Agriculture. So we will continue our work. We will do everything to hold this government accountable. And one of the things I want to say finally is this. Holding a government accountable is not restricted to street protest. And like I said when I joined your program, Barajak, they are doing everything to ensure there is street protest so that they can divide the races in this society and give them the opportunity to get back to those Indo-Guyanese that they have marginalized and now mad against them. And whenever we protest, and we will ensure that it is done in a way that it targets the PPP elite. I want people to understand our struggle is not against Indians. Our struggle is a struggle against a corrupt, incompetent, and divisive People's Progressive Party that we have to get rid of. And that is why we believe that if Guyana is to grow, the PPP must go. Those are the comments I want to begin with.
Thank you, Mr. Norton. Again, thank you for joining the program. I did say I expect it to be a long one. All right. You've raised a number of issues, and we've been hearing from viewers, we've been hearing from naysayers a whole lot that your campaign for leadership of the opposition was one that said you will hold the PPP accountable. In the eyes of many, they are not seeing maybe the version of what it is to hold the PPP accountable. You just explained that, listen, it doesn't mean street protests. It's not the only way. We've been going to communities, we've been highlighting the problems. In the same realm of holding the PPP accountable, you mentioned the disrespect for democratic norms in the local government elections, the report on fraudulent practices, no police action, the failure of the PPP representative in Linden to win, and them, as I would say, putting that person into the council through the back door. You said illegally appointing that person, Tom Clark. The question is, what actions have been taken or are intended to be taken to deal with issues such as the illegal imposition of the PPP rep on the town clerk? Why haven't we seen more, if not street protests, why haven't we seen more legal actions taken to right these wrongs?
As far as I'm aware, the councillors have been exposing it. We have been exposing it. The Regional Democratic Council have been exposing it. There are many issues which we took legal action on. I don't recall that legal action was taken on this matter, but I know there are forms of protest that are occurring that is making the town clerk, make it virtually impossible for him to manage the society. And he himself, by his incompetence and political bias, have created conditions that the people of Region 10 are opposing him. Now, do not forget that we took legal action against two persons who are parliamentary secretary in the parliament, and though the court had ruled that they were there illegally, the government didn't remove them. So we also have got to recognize that while legal action is an option, it is not a panacea. It is not going to solve the problem because you're dealing with a government that is extremely corrupt. But there are forms of civil disobedience. There are forms of protesting the activities of the Tong clan that have been making him unable to function. And that, in fact, will affect him and the PPP more than if you file legal action. The court rules, but then the PPP, who in the final analysis has to decide whether they can move him or not. They don't move him. We have got to find new ways and means of dealing with these issues. Yes, you can file legal action, but you have to develop strategies and approaches to make those in illegal offices know that they are unwanted and make it very difficult for them to function. And I think the Town Council in Linden have moved in that direction more than in any other direction. So holding people accountable, protests will help. But even in protest, you have to look at your overall objective. The overall objective here is to get rid of the People's Progressive Party. Do you want to do things that will result in ethnic clashes at this stage? Where I believe street protest will be very important is once we get to these elections, the PPP is beaten, then, and they don't want to come out of power, then they would open the door for any form of protest because the people of Ghana would have removed them and they will not be allowed to stay in power illegally. It is my sincere hope that that doesn't happen. When they lose, they will go in peace. A lot of people say, oh, but I got money. The local government elections would have shown that with a proper message, with organization, money can be beaten. And I do believe we will beat back the PPP and the money. And I do believe that people are partly getting the message that what they're doing isn't taking the people out of poverty. It isn't reducing the cost of living. It is political optics for them to rig going forward. So I would say organization is critical. I believe the next time we take on the PPP, it can't be a street protest in Georgetown or a street protest here. It has to be the raising of the consciousness in all the villages and every village doing its part in terms of holding the PPP accountable. The PPP will use their CCTV cameras to do what they did not. Let us not forget, in the Quindon Bacchus trial and protests, I had warned that be careful as you pass Indo-Guyanese villages, because the PPP will pay African Guyanese to beat Indo-Guyanese, and then you know what happened there. I don't have to repeat it. So when we are acting, we have to act sensibly, because the protest was legitimate, but how do you stop the PPP from paying those who they have in their payroll, from beating Indo-Guyanese, and then finally goes in as if it was the protesters that beat them, give them a set of money, and sought to turn it against you. We should learn from that. That yes, we need to protest sensibly, and we should not give the PPP the opportunity to regain the support they lost among Indo-Guyanese.
Thank you, Mr. Norton. The question that boggles my mind, or which came to mind as you explain what's happening in Linden and the fact that the courts have ruled that the two parliamentary secretaries were there illegally, and the PPP has so far not removed them. is in the case of Linden, doing whatever is being done to make the town clerk not able to function, not being able to function, is a form of protest. But at the end of the day, I want to believe that the wider Linden or Region 10 community gets affected with the inability of the town clerk to function, because then services are not provided, etc. And Linden being what I would want to call society, a community of majority one ethnic group, the fear of ethnic divisions. I'm of the opinion it doesn't apply a whole lot there. Protest doesn't have to only be national. Why not protest in Linden so that everyone, as I would say, can voice their disagreements with what's happening at the council, and further add pressure to the town clerk to either demit office or whatever the, I would say, the objective in that instance. In the instance of the National Assembly and the two parliamentary secretaries not being removed, again, what other action can be taken to address that situation? Because I think it boggles the mind for me to know that you can go to court, the court can rule, and because action is not taken, then as we say, all tools are dropped and the status quo continues.
Well, I wouldn't say that all tools are dropped and the status quo continue. In the case of Linden, let me address the first question that it is affecting Linden. Linden is being affected in the first place because the PPP refuses to give to the council adequate subvention to help the community. So the community is not being helped at all in that sense. If the town clerk is allowed to do what he is doing, his agenda is not to help the people. His agenda is really to mobilize people. His agenda is really to mobilize people in support of the PPP. And we have to ensure that that doesn't happen. Again, in Linden, I can say this to you because I go to Linden, I move around and I know what is happening in Linden. The consciousness of the people being raised, and I believe it is not too long before the people of Linden take on the PPP regime. Now, again, one has to, in this process, be sensible. I always say to people, I remember when we were going to the strike for electricity in Linden. We had to work tirelessly to reassure the Indian community in Linden that this is not a battle against Indians. It's a battle against the People's Progressive Party. I think they are somewhat reassured in this sense, and I do believe that the struggle against the PPP regime is emerging in Linden, and it will manifest itself in various ways. I continue to warn people against believing that the only form of protest is street protest. Look, I led street protest in 1997. I led street protest in 2001. At the end of street protest, you end up having to sit with the regime because this world is not allowing you, it's not a world now in which you overthrow governments and get away with it easily. And mind you, street protest hasn't shown in the Ghana context that it can get rid of the government. Your strategies, therefore, have got to be strategies aimed at getting rid of the government. The option that is open is electoral. So you want to protest to build pressure on the PPP, depopularize them as they are today, and create the conditions to get rid of them. One person walked up to me and said, oh, in 1997, oh, you were in front. We did the protest maps and the outlining. Then I said to them, what became the outcome? The outcome was the Caribbean came in. We got some constitutional reform. And even the constitutional reform we got, the PPP refused to implement. The procurement commission, we had to implement it when we came to government. A lot of the things that are there, we have a ethnic relations committee, which has, I think, 22 functions. Only one is being performed, really, the establishment of the commission. So one has to look at the end objective and decide what is your best political strategy for achieving your objectives. And I said to you, protest is part of it, but at this stage, street protest will not achieve the objectives we set ourselves. And I'm defining street protest here to mean where you get on the street and it ends up in violence. We call it, let us remember what happened at West Coast Babies. At West Coast Babies, again, the murder of the two Henry boys, the people became involved in protests. That was fine. Some people then decided that this thing wasn't effective and it is damaging the society more than anything else. And you know what happened, and those protests were called off. And may I say this to you, a lot of times the people who call for street protests are not the people who are going to come out and go to a street protest. I sit and watch them on your show, and I watch them on Facebook. Having been in protests, I can't recall seeing any one of them. So what in essence happens when you go to street protests? The average man, the poor man, frustrated, becomes involved. The first people likely to be charged are them. Let me remind you, I saw people in the diaspora calling for street protests, etc. When they started to charge people in the Quinlan Bacchus issue, we had to search for the money to bail them. None of the persons, and I say this without fear of contradiction, none of the persons at home and abroad, except for one, contributed to helping us getting them free. I recall I came home at one time, led the protest. The police arrested 16 of us, me and 15. The police then played a strategy. Oh, we're putting you on bail, but we're putting the rest on $100,000 bail. And I said to them, I'm not going anywhere if they are not getting bail. And that I, Aubrey Norton, will have to find the bail money for them. And then they came and said 50,000. We said, no, we can't pay that. They then said 10,000 and we paid 160,000. Those persons were bailed. We won the case in the court. But I want to say to people, do not see the average man as a man to be used. We have to develop the consciousness, mobilize and organize them to achieve our objectives. But I'm saying here clear, street protest has its place, it has value. But many of the people who call for street protests, they are not prepared to put their body in the line of fire. So that you would know, when you were arrested, we had to be involved. A lot of the people who make noise do not. I know what street protest is. I know to strategize the street protest. But I'm also aware that this point here in Ghana's history, our best option is not street protest. And we can hold government accountable using other methods to achieve our objective. The fact that the government has to run and respond to everything that we're doing, that they're trying to rectify problems is a form of bringing pressure to the government without giving them the opportunity to turn the tide against you.
Thank you. In your response, I'm hearing the work that is being done now and the response that is suitable, if I dare say, to the PPP's misbehavior is to make the people so conscious that they would remove them at the next election.
Not only will they remove them, but you are also seeing forms of passive resistance. Public servants providing you with information so that you can embarrass them in the public domain.
Well, let me finish the question so you will give me a comprehensive answer.
Okay, go ahead.
Right. The question in my mind is, given the current state of the electoral apparatus, what guarantee is there that even the will of the people will be respected? We, from the last election, the 2020 elections, we have had a recount and we've seen all of the quote-unquote methods of rigging that election. We know that the voters list in itself is a bugbear. We've been hearing calls for biometrics and a clean voters list. We've seen no responses. What guarantees are there or are likely to be there by the time we get to the next election that even the will of the people will be able to remove them?
Okay. In the first instance, I wouldn't say that there are no responses. In fact, I think I heard Jack would say that they have to find a mechanism to clean the voters list. It's not the solution, but it's an indication that some amount of pressure is being built up. I think we have to continue. We have to go back to the drawing board, relook how we campaign for clean voters list and biometrics, and come with a new campaign shortly. So I do believe that some progress is being made, however little. As it relates to the honoring of it, I did say in this presentation that we have got to continue to do the work. I did say that once this government refuses to acknowledge the will of the people of Guyana, then the people of Guyana have the right to take any action to get rid of them. And all this consciousness building, etc. Kadaki, you must see what you're doing as part of consciousness building. What all of these programs are doing, part of consciousness building. You know why the PPP is now seeking to amend the Cybercrime Act? They are seeking to amend it because they recognize that social media is a thorn in their side and that it is exposing them, putting their back against the wall, and so they are going in that direction. But even as they seek to do that, that also will raise consciousness, and that will also result in people confronting them. So let us remember that when you are fighting oppression, every act of the oppressor in the direction of oppressor opens the eyes of people, and it is for us to keep guiding them, leading them, and increasing the numbers of persons who are tired and fed up of the administration. And remember that there are sections of the society we have to target, provide the information. After yesterday's program, a young man from Linden called me to say, let us ensure we put all that Jordan would have said out there, because a lot of things Jordan said, we didn't know. And so the message is meeting people. The fact that the PPP is paying millions to put trolls on these programs, the fact that they're spending millions to try and sabotage these programs are indicative of the fact that it is impacting and it has the PPP on their back foot.
Thank you. Let's talk about the mismanagement of the economy. We know for a fact, we are seeing for a fact the discrimination, the failure to use, as I would say, established norms as in the public procurement commissions, etc. to allocate contracts and distribute resources evenly and fairly. It is a complaint we continuously hear. We see it happening. We know it happening. What is likely to be your approach come the morning after elections and you win government? What is your current approach to dealing with the discrimination? Those are the two questions.
Let us start with discrimination. The discrimination that exists, I said, is political and ethnic. One has to approach development recognizing that there were discrimination, and you do not exchange the government. You come with an approach in which the people of Guyana are allowed to benefit. In that process, there has to be equity. No, not equality, equity. Meaning those who have less have got to get more, regardless of their ethnicity. And once you take the approach of equity, you will take Amerindians out of poverty. You will take African Guyanese out of poverty. And those sections of the Indo-Guyanese community that are deprived of development now, you will also help to take them out of poverty. So you have to allocate resources in a way that allows those in poverty to be taken out of poverty. I've given to the government, I think, more than 10 measures to reduce the cost of living. We have to implement measures to reduce the cost of living. The most immediate question for me on getting government is this whole question of dealing with the crisis in education. Any society, well, let me put it differently. The societies that develop do well in education. And what we need is really an approach that in a comprehensive way deals with education. First, we have already said that we will have national early childhood education program in which from as early as a year we develop institutions that these children can be in so that they can begin the process of education with their peers. The second thing is restructure nursery, especially the basic teaching of math and English. And by the time you meet primary, it should be structured in such a way that you are dealing with the key issues, especially in mathematics and English. I am not one who believes you could rectify it in the primary school, in the secondary school. The child has to leave the primary school equipped with the basic tools to do mathematics, English, and the others. I have consistently argued that we need to reshape the education program in a way that by the time a child needs grade 4, they can read, write, count, comprehend, and reason. Once you give children those facilities, and then you complement it with paying livable wages to the teachers, and even incentivizing those who can teach math and English. Because there are a lot of people teaching English and teaching mathematics, it doesn't follow that they can teach it, but they are teaching it. And so we have to find those who are interested in teaching, who could teach, and incentivize them so that we can improve the performance of our children. And then we have to put resources in the University of Guyana and train the people we need, matching them with jobs. So it has to come from the bottom up. As it relates to infrastructure, we have outlined in one of our press conferences our policies, but there are a few things I should say about infrastructure development. One, you need a proper monitoring unit. Two, you need that monitoring unit must be able to monitor quality as well as the timeline for the delivery of projects. I mean, one of the marked failure of this government is the amount of contracts they have to terminate because timelines are not being met. And they knew full well they couldn't meet the timelines because they want to give the contracts to the cronies and they're not equipped to do it. We have to, in Guyana, establish a proper contractors training school. Now that I say the government might run and do it, but I'm saying to you, we have to establish a contractor training school in which we get international assistance and the professionals at the local level to train people to become contractors. And in choosing those people, they must come from the various ethnic groups and create the condition for them to be able to get contracts. 25% of contracts, the law says, must be allocated to small businesses. But we could also put clauses in the large contract that dictate that when people get big contracts, they must give a certain percentage to small contractors. Because we need to widen the base of people who are competent to deliver on contracts. What the PPP does is a man is a gardener, what I tell you is a practical story. And a man will tell you, hey, come by, you could get a contract. And he left it in the garden. He know nothing but contracts, so it is doomed to failure. So we have to revamp the entire laws surrounding allocation of contracts, the procurement laws, and develop a much better system to monitor both the formulation of policies, programs, and projects, and the implementation. And we have to give the community a role. The community must have the specifications and be able to monitor it. So I'm saying to you, that is an area. But one of the most critical areas that today or tomorrow will become the government, we have to deal with, is the expansion of agriculture to all regions. We need to ensure that every region in this country is self-sustainable in agriculture as a means of bringing down food costs and ensuring that people have access to quality produce at a low price. We have also said that we need it to complement the school system, a national schools transportation network in which the children in the Pomeroon must have the means to go to school. The children on the coast must have the means to go to school. And not only must they have the means of going to school, we have outlined what we call a people-centered development strategy. Outline that in my Congress speech. And in that speech, you will see we say, long before Kamala Harris, we're going to create an opportunity society in which we generate opportunities for the small man. We said in that we will provide 2 hot meals for children so that they have the required nutrition to be able to go to school. And in doing it, we have to be careful because the people is providing meals, but that has become a source of corruption. When we do it, it must be monitored so that the children don't only get the meals, they get the nutrition from it. Those are the kind of activities. And of course, you have to revamp the entire police force. You have to go back to what David Granger was doing, giving the police force a quality leadership, and then give them the training to ensure that they can solve crime and perform in the way they ought to be performing to ensure law and order in this society. Isn't it instructive that people are going on a drug bust, but they exclude the Guyana police force? We know full well that there were elements in the police force that whenever, even when the coalition was in government, you had to keep certain elements out, because the minute they know, they will tell the criminals this is coming. And so we have got to clean the police force of those senior corrupt officers who have no interest in law enforcement, but are interested in getting wealthy. Another issue we have to address on day one of government is our territorial integrity. The PPP has proven.
Hello. Hi. Good morning. Morning, neighbor. Morning. Welcome to another program of Guyanese Morning Time. It is 7 hours 41 on the 16th day of September in the year 2024. Welcome to the program. How have you been? Today is a holiday. What are you planning with the holiday today? You're going to just rock back, George? I tell you all already, since we all work slave hours in this country, when we get holidays, we have to make it productive time for ourselves. Just as how you've been doing an 8 to 5 or a 9 to 5 for Massa. When it's a working day, take that 8 to 5 or even a portion of that 8 to 5 and use it for you. What do you plan to do with your holiday? Lay down, roll over, and so on and so forth. No, you have to be productive. We have to use our productive time. What's going on with you? How was your last night? How was your weekend? How you feel this morning? What are you enthusiastic about? Well, I'm enthusiastic. Very enthusiastic. I'm enthusiastic that, I think if we work hard enough, we will get the PPP out. If we do enough of what is required of us, we will get the PPP out. Some of us are doing the work. Some of us are waiting for the praises. But I dare argue that if all of us do the work, then the fight becomes easier and victory becomes more certain. I know a lot of you didn't get the opportunity to call in and talk about Mr. Norton's presentation and responses Friday last. And so I decided that today I'm going to give you that opportunity. I'm going to open up the lines early so that we can talk about some of the proposals of Mr. Norton. Most of you, if not all of you, would have heard what he had to say on Friday's program, both during his opening remarks and a few questions, and even when we open up the lines and so on, his responses. So I'd like you to comment on that, because this is how you give your politicians feedback. You can't get to their office every day. They don't answer the phone when you call them and so on and so forth. So if you have to use platforms such as these to send them your messages, then by all means. But there is something that I want to respond to quickly before opening up the lines. So I'll share a bit of stuff with you and then we'll open up the lines.
Janet left office in August of 1999, and in comes Bar Jack Deal. Now again, remember I tell you the salary thing was brewing from since 92. 7 years now the salary thing brewing. And Jack Deal is aware of it because Jack Deal was Junior Minister of Finance, then he was Senior Minister of Finance, now he's President. And 1999, Jack Deal is faced with two arbitration tribunal awards. Two arbitration tribunals. The Malcolm Rodriguez arbitration on teachers and the Aubrey Armstrong for public servants. So he dare not touch salaries of ministers. What do you think he did? And which escaped the eyes of the public. And I don't know, the only reason perhaps it escaped the eyes of the public because I have a feeling it might not have been gazetted. But these things, when it comes to ministers, because ministers are constitutional post holders, these matters have to be gazetted. So I don't know how it can catch the eye. So instead of increasing the salaries of ministers, Jagdeo increased the vacation allowance of ministers. On December the 28th, 1999, in a memo to the clerk of the National Assembly, the then Secretary to the Treasury, Carol Hebert, advised of the approval given for vacation allowance for ministers to be increased from $240,000, which was equivalent to 1 month's salary, to $420,000, effective January 1, 2000. A 75% increase was approved by the new president, Jagdeo, a mere 3 months after he arrived in there. He arrived in there early August, I think it was August 2nd or 4th or 5th or something like that. September, October, November, December, 4 months. 4 months after he approved of a 75% increase in vacation allowance. It would have been the first time in the history of this country, in public service or in the non-public service, that your vacation allowance exceeded your salary. And it was only for one categorization of people, ministers.
Did you hear that clearly? I hope you heard it clearly, because it's one of the things I want us to talk about. A mere 4 months after going into office, becoming president of this country, Jagdeo passed an order to increase politicians, ministers of government, let me be specific, vacation allowance by 75%, making it the first time in the history of this country, maybe any other country as a matter of fact, maybe the history of the world, where your vacation allowance far exceeds your salary. Your salary is usually, your vacation allowance is usually tied to your salary. It's usually the equivalent of 1 month's pay for your vacation allowance. Good. So what Jagdeo did? Said here, we want to increase our income, but we can't get to adjust our salaries because of these quote unquote stringent, these quote unquote, what's the word I was about to look for? Anyhow, challenges. Let me call them that. Restrictions. So we'll go another route. We're going to take it through vacation allowance. There's another section of the Winston Jordan tapes, as I am calling them now, that I have to extract for you so that you will hear how much these guys are taking from the Treasury on a monthly or yearly basis. You will hear how he adjusted the presidential salary so that once he demits office, he would be able to draw on a monthly basis in excess of $1 million without lifting a finger. Pensions. You'll hear that. But I want you to keep that in mind and listen to what his minions, his mouthpieces, had to write about the proposal for poor people to get money in this country as a direct cash transfer. In the Ghana Times, we know the writer, right? There's an article that they call Free Money and More Money, dated September 15th, dated yesterday. It's in their features. Well. Wouldn't it be great if all of us could just, quote unquote, throw back and get just $5,000 or Ghana 1.1 million bucks a year or more? If the conversion rate goes up, well, if you vote for the WP or the PNC or the AFC come 2025 and they win the elections, you could just see that happening. Isn't it great? Clive Thomas, the WP elder, had made that suggestion in Buxton at the time when he had been a member of the PNC coalition. But they didn't pay him no mind. Just like when he had been a member of the Sugar Commission of Inquiry and Granger had ignored his recommendations. But Norton had picked up the idea. Why not? Free money might buy votes. But what do you say to the elder who suggested back in the day that we cut all trade relations with capitalist countries, or else we'd never develop? Bonham had ignored him, but then he had his own wacko ideas on the economy. Over in China, where they are also Marxists like Thomas, they increased trade with the capitalist countries, and today they're about to overtake the US as the largest economy in the world. Thomas's advice was taken by Chavez in Venezuela, and look where they are today. Now every politician bigs up spending on people to get their votes. Something for nothing attracts no. Something for nothing attracts no. In fact, they've got a name for one version of putting money in citizens' pocket for just being citizens. It's called Universal Basic Income. And while no country has implemented it, there's some talk now that the idea of a UBI ain't new. In fact, Plato mentioned one version in his Utopian Republic, and that's why utopian has a bad name. Right now, there are welfare economies wherein quite a few services are provided to the needy, free by the government. Like here in Mudland, where we got free medical care and education. So is the opposition going to give the $1 million only to those who need some help because of, say, joblessness? Nah, they want everybody to get the big bucks. And your eyewitness really has a problem with that. So maybe we ought to create a basic needs category of citizens to get help. Now, even if oil steadies at US $80 per barrel, we're earning some $2.5 billion US dollars at a 14.5% Exxon contract rate. But we'll be dishing out US $1+ billion to the present 200,000 families, which are expected to increase. Does that make sense? How about imitating China and creating jobs while improving infrastructure and facilities and welfare services, like the government's doing? Based on human psychology, we know that even if it's a made-up job, folks have self-respect when earning their money. Go on the side with cheap politics. As minimum wage, your eyewitness knows that there is now a minimum wage of $60,000 monthly for private industries. This, of course, translates to $720,000 annually for working staff getting that minimum wage. And the first thing you will notice is that it's less than the $1.1 million Clive Thomas wants to give every Tom, Dick, and Harry Lal. The question that's been asked in cases like this, where the UBI will exceed the minimum is, will those workers then shop for their minimum wage work? Some may say that those minimum wage workers will see the UBI as a booster top-up of their take-home pay and will keep on working. Finland tried a pilot program with UBI replacing unemployment benefits, and it showed no appreciable change on employment rates one way or the other. This pretty much supports your eyewitness's position, and he feels that the way to go. At present, the government has already rolled out several grant programs to several categories of needy citizens. This can be regularized. Now, let me tell you this. Let me start by saying the several categories of needy citizens. This author, as usual, is disingenuous, mendacious, right? Takes pride in misleading and all the works. Let me start by saying this. He mentions a grant to certain categories of citizens who are in need. As it would appear in this country, it is only Indo-Guyanese, especially in Region 6, that are in need, and Essequibo that are in need. Do your investigation and you will find out that the PPP for quite a while now has been delivering grants, cash grants, not to households, but citizens, individual members of a household. If a household got 10 people and the PPP choose that they are PPP supporters, every single one of them get a grant. I understand the amount in Borbis is $200,000. And the question was asked the other day, why don't you see such grants being paid in Region 4? Because Region 4 doesn't have categories of needy people, according to this writer. So the PPP is giving grants to those people it considers in need, only Indo-Guyanese, or majority Indo-Guyanese, because you will have the token blacks, the token Afro-Guyanese, who are getting a little token here and a little token there among the PPP comrades because they consider PPP comrade. So that's the first thing I want to tell this eyewitness. This eyewitness who aims to mislead the court of public opinion. And it is why the WPA said, why Clive Thomas and the WPA said, we recommend the cash grant to every household. Not every Tom, Dick, Harry, Lal, and Jane, according to this deceitful eyewitness. Every household. So $1.1 million, according to the calculation of this eyewitness, going to a household does not mean and will never mean citizens will not be willing to work because $1.1 million is more than $720,000 in the private sector. And you notice the deceit? I want you to recognize the deceit. The deceit is this. The private sector's minimum wage is $60,000. It is lower than the public sector's minimum wage, which I think is $75,000. And so he went for the lower figure to make his argument, because 60 times 12 is 720. But 60 times 75 is what? 12 7 84 is, and 6 is about 900,000 perhaps. Yeah, sounds like about 900,000. Right? So he's using the lower figure to make his argument in this desire to deceive. But let me break it down for you. By claiming that $60,000 per month will give an individual $720,000 a year. That's an individual. 10 people in a household will get $7.2 million a year. 10 persons in a household will get $7.2 million a year at $60,000 a month. The recommendation of the WP no, Marlon, you missed something there. I said 75, I didn't say 70. Back to this number. 10 persons in a household will get $7.2 million a year. But the WP has recommended approximately $5,000 US, let's say, according to the eyewitness calculations, $1.1 million a year for the same 10 persons in the household. Because it is a household that gets the money, not an individual. And so this eyewitness that is projecting itself as being smart and bright and brilliant and does the kind of economics like Jack Dio is simply writing or arguing to mislead people. They can't be straightforward and honest. In just about 4 months, when Jack Dio became president, he increased ministers of government emoluments by 75%. Let us check the history of the PPP in government and see if at any point in time they've given to the public servants in this country 75% increase. They haven't. But back to this argument. If we give the households $1 million or 5,000, since $1.1 million is more than $720,000, people ain't gonna go work. They're gonna sit back and wait for this $1.1 million. If, maybe just if, the $1.1 million was going per person, because $60,000 times 12 months is $720 per person, the private sector minimum wage. So to claim that $1.1 million into a home, a household annually, is going to stop people from earning $720,000 per individual annually. Ordinarily, I would have said the writer is dunce. But since I know the writer is not dunce and the writer is just spewing PPP propaganda to mislead the nation, I will say the writer is mendacious. And exposes the mentality of the PPP that says what? Only we must eat. Only the PPP big boys must eat. Only the likes of Jack Dio and Ramatar and former President Sam Mines and so on of the PPP must eat, because remember, it's millions of dollars they take home monthly as a pension from the people of Ghana. Remember that when the private sector minimum wage is $60,000, a minister of government takes home in excess of $1 million monthly. How many times 60 can go into $1 million? Y'all tell me. I am sure. It is way more times than 720 could go into 1.1. And so when the ministers of government are earning almost 17 times what someone who's working in the private sector gets as a minimum wage. 17 times what someone working in the private sector gets as a minimum wage. These crooks and vagabonds are telling us that it is unthinkable to give to a household $1.1 million as a supplement, because people will not work. They will not want to go to work for that $60,000. Let us bring $1.1 million. Into 12 months. We're talking about $91,000 a month. How does $91,000 a month change the fortunes of a household? The average household in this country is about 4 persons. So $91,000 a month for 4 persons is $22,000. Let's say $23,000. How does $23,000 become more than $60,000? And so where is the incentive, the stimulus to say to somebody, it is better not to work just to collect a cash grant of $23,000 a month? Make it make sense, Mr. Witness or Mrs. Witness. Make it make sense. I want the PPP to help us to make sense out of that nonsense which they're trying to put into the heads of the intellectually lazy. Because it has to be the intellectually lazy they're talking to. Will I choose not to work for $60,000 a month because the government is assisting me with $23,000 a month? Jackass a brave, but jackass not listen. Fool a talk, fool not listen. And the eyewitness is just that. A dishonest jackass. I like to call them by their full name sometime. Don't tell me about doctor this and doctor that. The PPP has always been on the trail of buying doctorates. And even if they worked to earn their doctorate, they do a disservice to them. Some educational facilities, some universities should disown these classes because their education is not serving to elevate mankind. So this clown is arguing that if we give Guyanese a direct cash transfer of approximately $23,000 a month per person, approximately $100 per month per person, they wouldn't want to work. They wouldn't want to work for $300 a month because that is what the minimum salary in the private sector comes down to, about $300 a month. And so will I give up $300 because somebody is giving me $100? What quackery is that? What quackery is that? And of course, you see the snide remarks, the attack on Clive Thomas and so on. Well, you know, quite frankly, I usually say Clive Thomas and the rest can defend themselves. Let me just deal with the mathematics. So they're chastising Guyanese and the people's representatives for wanting to see Guyanese get a direct cash transfer of about $23,000 a month. From their patrimony. But when you look at what they earn, 17 times that which Guyanese are getting as a minimum wage. They don't see a problem with that. They don't see a problem with that. And on top of that 17 times more that they're earning as ministers of government, they are also receiving a lot of benefits, which Jordan has not spoken about, a lot of perks. They get their light bill paid. They get their telephone bills paid. They get their internet bills paid. They get transportation allowance. They get maid allowance. They get gardener's allowance. So to use the terminology of the young man who told his father, Daddy, what me got for pay for, she a sell. To use the terminology, what we have to pay for, they're getting free. Plus, they're getting 17 times more than we are paid as ordinary men and women in this society. Well, you know, Zebuya, Israel, I'm not even going to go to what they steal and they corrupt, what they bring in from corrupt practices and so on. Because they will tell me I don't have the evidence to support that. But I have the evidence to support the fact that they get all of these allowances. And they get 17 times what the ordinary man earns in this society working in the private sector. And they're making the argument that no, Guyanese don't deserve a cash transfer because they ain't gonna work. They're gonna give up 300 US. Because they're getting 100 US as a top up. Y'all make it make sense. I will leave that there for now, but I will return to it. It's 12 minutes past 8 o'clock hour. I did say I want to open up the lines early. Let me say kudos to the legal representatives of Ms. Vashti and the others at Peters Hall here. Senior Counsel Riser team for that victory. It's a victory. It's a step in the right direction because the courts have said to the government, hey, not too fast. Don't build your bridge on these people's land until the matter of compensation is settled. Hold your arses. And that's a good thing. We shall discuss that later in the week. Call your life.
Yes, good morning to you and all my African brothers and sisters in Guyana. If you could recall, that make you see I love this program, and I would always say this program is number one. Trust me, I know that. I always said for months and months on this program, Jadio never ruled Guyana as a politician. Listen to me clearly, my black brother and sister. He never ruled Guyana as a politician. He ruled Guyana as politics. There's a many way to skin a cat, and that is how Jadio does rule Guyana. Now, to my leader, my God, Guyana. Flash Garden always said that my leader, Abinatan, is not smart. Oh no, I always say it. If you still have more conscience like Chavadas, you could say yes too. Flash Garden always said. I always said, Mr. Abinatan is wise. Why Flash Garden say that? When I put a question to him, and I said, would you protect my...
Flash will have to call again. We have the usual disruptions here. The lines are open. 6225933 is the number to call. You tune to the Guyanese Morning Time. I am your host, Kidaki Amsterdam. Let me play, if I can, let me see if I find it. The opinion of an ordinary Guyanese citizen on what they are doing to you in this country, despite all the resources you have. Go ahead, Flash.
Yes, I'm saying that Abinatan is a wise man. He is not smart. Because when I put a question to him and said, would you protect my mother 25 votes? He said yes. He said, I will protect all votes. That's why I always use the word and said, Mr. Abinatan will be a president for all not for one individual or one color. Because you remember the word of God. When Jesus said, Lord, forgive them all, for they know not what they have done. That's why he always and will always be wise, like you. I'm not going to leave you out, like you. Who don't vote for me? Who kill me? Who put me up? Jesus said, Lord, forgive them, for they know not what they have done. And next thing that God always said on your program, I said, Jagdo is waiting for the Abinat to take out people outside there and catch poor people and lock them up. Then you go call James Bond, hey, go and report them, we don't set everything out. And when Abinat cannot represent them and bail them same supporters go turn up on Abinat. Why you bring me outside here and you don't have money for paying us something and we left me from you? That is the way that you're ruling black people in Guyana mostly. I say all the time on the program that my friend take a Kodi woman to live with. And when the first $25,000 was given out, she tell him plain, there were two sisters living together at the moment. The boy gives pot and tell her to keep it down low. And I tell myself, how many more hours he did that too? And how many he get for you and his family them? Black people, stay with who you know than to go with somebody who you don't know. One more thing before we go, and I'll continue tomorrow. I see a video with a man who following Mr. Nigel Hughes' case in the court with the lawsuit against that Jagdio the suit. When his wife was on the bench, Jagdio lawyer asked her the question. I don't know if it's flag, but we will say it. Because it all flash garden. Trust me. Because of what God said. Those without no sin carry the first stone. Towards a woman when men was going to take advantage to kill her and disrespect her. The lawyer asked her, your husband ever called you low life? And she said, yes. He said, God, Lord of worship. Why this young man did that? Why this man did that to his wife? Listen to me, my black brother and sister. I'm not banging on Mr. Nigel Hughes. But you see,
Caller,
when you want... Yes.
let me ask you a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Do you know the context in which it is alleged that the woman's husband called her low life?
Listen to me.
No. Me why you listen? I why you listen to me? I ask you a question. I want the answer.
No, but let me explain myself why I said no. To the end of the day, I flash garden. No content or context or what in the context. That word, you take the word on Google and you will know what low life, the word low life means. So, joke or joke not, no man
Caller,
should never, yes.
do you know when it is alleged this man called his wife low life?
Mr. Amsterdam, okay. No, but...
Flash, move on.
For that.
Thank you.
Right, but now, my last thing. God always tell me, don't fight it down. Leave you alone and come back and listen next day. Good. I see a video again with Mr. Nigel Hughes when he said that the ancestor
Caller,
sent him.
Flash
Yes.
Gordon,
Yes.
have a good day.
Thank you.
I'm going to say this to y'all again. And say this to y'all again. Stop falling into the trap of muddying the people who have stepped forward to fight the PPP to get us out of this dark hole that we are in. A time will come when you will have to spend time washing off all the dirt that you're assisting to pour on them because you recognize the importance of them leading. Don't do it. Don't make it work harder. I wasn't there. I don't know the context. I'm sure the court doesn't know the context. Because when you are in court and lawyers ask you certain questions, they ask you questions just to put you on the back foot. They ask you questions to make you look mendacious. They ask you questions. They know in their minds why they ask you for questions, ask you certain questions. And in many instances, they don't want explanations. They ask you yes, no questions. And from the time you say yes and you attempt to, no, you've answered the question, asked and answered. They don't want the explanation. I am not Nigel Hughes. I've not been in his living space. I don't even know where he lives and all of that. I've not been in the presence of Nigel having a discussion or even an argument with his wife and the words low life come out. I can assume, however, that he called her a low life after Jack Dio called her a low life and he was being sarcastic. Would I be wrong to assume it was a sarcastic remark? Those who have a bone to chew with Nigel might say, I doubt it. The two of them had some disagreement and he called her low life. And this is how Jack Dio getting the knowledge. So we have to be very careful. For me, some things are public and others are personal. I don't have an interest in this Nigel call his wife low life. And why? Call her your life. Call her your life. You're on. Call her you on. I don't know what's happening to the caller this morning. The lines remain open. 6225923 is the number to call. Good morning, caller. You're on.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Kadaki and the listening viewers in Guyana here and around the world. I was trying to get Mr. Nag this morning on your program, but as you indicated, the program has already closed. I had wanted to ask him one thing, and I would like, when he come on back sometime, that I could ask him, why we not frequent at the square at the revolution? That is our ancestors' place, and I really and truly think that we must keep up that, keep our activities there. Kofi was a great man. He fought for us, and it means a lot to us. And we must be frequent there, just as how our opposite visit Babu Jan on a regular basis. We must continue be at the square of the revolution. That's my point. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The lines remain open. 6225923 is the number to call. Y'all don't like me, but I like myself. I might be wrong because I've not done the research, but I rather suspect Babu Jan is private property. Babu Jan is private property. Might be. Doesn't fall under the control of government. Might be. I'm saying might be because I'm thinking in my mind, I wonder if it's on the show there. But from the one time I went for a visit to that place, it was in a mess, fenced off and so on. So I suspect it's private property. And so the PPP can go to Babu Jan whenever they want. They can use Babujan whenever they want. But will it be surprising to you if I say to you that Durban Park is state property? Will it be surprising to you if I say Durban Park is state property? Will it be surprising to you if I say that, from my understanding, Durban Park falls under the ministry of the president? And so if you want to use Durban Park, you're supposed to write the ministry of the presidency to get permission to use Durban Park? Those who have been closely related to Durban Park over the years maybe can help us to understand that. And so while the caller is saying we need to use Durban Park more often, he might be right. And the question is, will we be given is the permit to use Durban Park going to be gotten easily? I think some people recognize the difficulty there. And that is why, in my mind, again, most times the opposition has events like rallies and so on. They're now going to the smaller Burnham Court. It's not private property, but it falls under the jurisdiction of the city government. And as we know, the city government currently is controlled by members of the opposition. And so it's easier, I would think, to get permission to use Burnham Court than it is to get permission to use Durban Park. Understand that. We can get into the discourses about the failure of the PPP to maintain Durban Park and all of that on another discussion, but that's what I think I know. Y'all could correct me if you think I'm wrong. The lines remain on 6225933. It's 27 minutes past the 8 o'clock hour. You're tuned to the Guyanese Morning Time. Let me remind you, in case you didn't recognize it, of what Jagdio did, what the PPP did, and what the PPP continues to do for themselves in government, as against doing for the ordinary man and woman in this country so that they can live comfortably. Caller, you're on.
Good morning, Mr. Amsterdam. Thanks for all the current information that is happening in Guyana. I've learned a lot from listening to your morning program. What bothers me is that Guyana is 83,000 square miles, less than 1 million people. The wealth in Guyana from the natural resources, it is so much, and yet so many poor Guyanese are suffering. What happened to this government? Foreigners that are not Guyanese come into Guyana getting vast areas of land. Guyanese have to wait years. The government, especially the Afro-Guyanese, the ancestral lands, they're just taking it back from the people. What happened to them? And there's so many ministers of Afro descent in the government, and they're just sitting back there. What, all for the money? All for the money? You think if it was a black government and Indians were the ministers there and the government were doing those things to Indo-Guyanese, you think the Indians in the government would have sat back and just, oh, I'm getting my money and my family is okay, and to hell with the rest of them? What happened to our people? What happened to our people? Everyone has to die and leave all the money and all the wealth that they have. People are suffering in Guyana. I'm not in Guyana, but it makes me sad. It really makes me sad. And thank you, Mr. Amsterdam, for all the good work you were doing. And some of the other people on social media. But you were the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that call. I see Lisa Prasad is asking a question. And I will say this, Lisa Prasad. I've been observing you for a while now, you know. I've been observing you for a while now. And you're not a person with an open mind. And for the fact that you're not a person with an open mind, and I recognize you've been misbehaving on my platform and the platform of Dr. Hines and so on, I will exercise my democratic right to get rid of you. Go by critics and them one and ask them where you want. Not here. Beat out. This is Education Month. September is Education Month. It is also Amerindian Heritage Month. It is also the month of blocking on CAMS TV. See, I'll continue pushing your luck. Call your life. Call your life.
Morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Amsterdam. And to all Guyanese, let me ask you a question. If I box my wife, that means I give license to anybody who come and box it?
Not at all.
Good. So I know what they're talking about, like you start. That is anybody who calls his wife, no, like you know, he calls his wife, so when they get a license to nobody to call his wife, so like, anyhow, you get Barack and Ashley, who is Mama guiding as economic guru. These people are pocket guns as far as they're concerned. If you're going to hold back money from a certain set of people, let me say the black people, you only back black people. Black people are the only people in this country that as they get this money, they can't spend it. They buy clothes, they buy food and sport it. How do they expect this economy to go along? That's why the economy slow down, because they have no common sense. They don't want to give black people money. How the academy going to spin on? These people playing economic guru and they have sort of what they're done as far as we're concerned. They have no standard. Thank you.
Thank you for your call. I see somebody took the time to correct me. And I hope you recognize the sarcasm in my voice. Correct me. That the caller said Square of the Revolution, he didn't say Durban Park. Well, that individual that is correcting me, I want you to tell me where Square of the Revolution is. Because the last I checked, Square of the Revolution is a part of Durban Park. And doesn't sit on Mars, nor in Buxton, on private property. Right? I hope you're educated. But like I usually say, if you're wrong, feel free to correct me. Just feel free to correct me. Somebody asked me a few months ago why Durban Park is in blackout, or why Square of the Revolution is in darkness. Because the PPP choose to keep it in darkness. And those of us who don't understand, that is the responsibility of the government, then it's likely that we're going to chastise them, we're going to criticize them, we're going to bad talk. The opposition for having the Square of the Revolution in a dirty looking state and unkempt and all of that. No, sir. Y'all don't fall for the trap. It's the government's responsibility. As a matter of fact, it should fall under the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture. They should have some responsibility for it. I don't know if it's a national trust, but maybe we can check on national trust too and find out why it's not being taken care of. Okay? Good. 6225923 is the number to call. 25 minutes to the 9 o'clock hour on the 16th day of September. On this holiday, Monday in Ghana. Remember the Cash App $sign KAMSTV. Come on, man. Yeah, set up something there. And the Zelle is 1-862-373-5187 in the name Hewitt Downer. Make your contributions. For those persons who have been asking about Friday Laughs with Chow Pow and Jumbie Jones, it's happening on the 27th of September here at Club Twilight. You can actually get to view the show virtually. It will cost you $5. $5. Send us your $5 for the show, and we will send you the sign-in credentials, if you want to call it your virtual ticket to get to see the show. Good? Well, last year I had some good old Guyanese comedy. Do your thing. And let us bring you some entertainment from Club Twilight. Those who are in Ghana, you'll pay $500 to enter the venue. $500 to enter the venue. Good? Because we expect you will support the bar and so on and so forth, and that will help to defray the cost. But those who are out there virtually, you will pay $5 to see the show, because we will have to hire camera people and so on and so forth to make it possible. Good? Let's do that. Let's support the thing. Let's support the thing. We could play politics and we can entertain ourselves and we could do economics all at the same time. And let me remind you that we are planning a Christmas market for sometime around the 20th of December. It's going to be a Friday market. So it's going to start maybe about 2 o'clock and go into the night. Venue is still to be confirmed, but we are hoping that we're going to get the same venue that we used for the expo the last time. Caller, you're on. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Duncan. How are you?
I'm alive and grateful.
Good morning to the for listening around the world. I'm compelled this morning to call you. First, I must congratulate Mr. Jordan for coming out, because I'm one of the person who started blasting Mr. Jordan in the early stage of this program, if you could remember, because he has a trail of knowledge of the wrongdoing done in Ministry of Finance during the time he was there. So I must applaud him for coming out and speaking to the Guyanese public and the international community of the wrongdoings. Secondly, I want to speak on Shidat Rampal. Shidat Rampal was the greatest gentleman we produced in Guyana. But still, this wicked and reckless government has not given him the right that he deserved as a diplomat for Guyana, only because he supported the PNC. Okay? Finally, I want to speak on the New Harbor Bridge. We're in word that we're going to build a New Harbor Bridge, and the president, the Dominican president we have there, stood by and said it is going to be free. This means that we'll be draining the coppers of the treasury to maintain that bridge and pay for the service of the bridge every year and the staff. There's another way where they're going to fix the crony in to draw easy money. I strongly believe that bridge should pay for itself. And all bridge in Ghana should be paid for itself, not free. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, caller. I certainly agree that, as a matter of fact, we discussed this issue before about this so-called no-toll bridge. So-called no-toll bridge. And let me use that to refer to the witness that says that if households were to receive a $5,000 a year direct cash transfer, in short, we're going to be draining the treasury of all the oil income. What are we going to be doing when we have a toll-free bridge? It has to be paid for. Who is going to pay for it? Where is the money coming from? Who is going to pay for the maintenance and the operation and so on? Who is going to pay for the, what do we call it? Capital compensation, let me call it that. Huh? Y'all talk to me. I want to know those things. When Archer is saying to please send the link early, when Archer, as soon as you pay, I can send you the link. Yeah, I can do that. I can send you the link as soon as you pay. But I rather suspect, I'm not calling you crooks like the PPP. I rather suspect the smart thing to do is to send out all of the links a day or two before the show. Because we Guyanese are very generous. Hey, Mr. Ansam, send me the link for the show, but you pay yet? Nah, me ain't got money. I look the link. It don't work, so. It don't work, so. There must got to be some kind of gatekeeping in this instance because, you know, it's an expense we are incurring to make the show possible. It's quite expensive. You might be surprised how expensive it is. But, you know, you talk some, you leave some. The lines remain open 625-933. I said there's a video I wanted to show you. The thoughts of an ordinary Guyanese citizen. I'm going to stop it somewhere towards the end because there's some language there which, while you and I will understand, might be figurative, suppository. I don't want the PPP drag me before the court again to say I support anything. So let me make a disclaimer. The views expressed on this video are those of the poster and not Kidaki Amsterdam or Camps TV. It is being shared for educational purposes only.
Or don't matter what you say, it think I make a difference. Yes, Mr. Glenlal, this message is to you. Don't matter what you do or don't matter what you say, it think I make a difference. We got the world biggest con artist is in Parliament. You understand? We can't do nothing about it. Them banna taking all the oil money, them banna taking all the gold money, all the backside money, all the Ukrainian money, every single money them banna taking. We ain't getting nothing. You see a Guyanese, I 42 years of age. I can never even raise the money yet. I'm working every day in my life and can't even raise the money yet for put up a little house. These banna paying we less than 5% of our day earnings. Them is getting 1.8 and plus a month. And we don't even see we don't even see not even 100,000 a month. You understand? This is real. This is selfishness. We is not one guy, you know. We is not one guy, you know. We is not one people, one nation. It's selfish. They're too selfish. They just want everything for them and their family and their friends. We ain't got no part to it, Mr. Glenlal. We don't have no part. If it make no sense, you come in every day on TikTok and preaching and think these banners gonna change their mind. These boys ain't gonna change their mind. You know what you got to do for Guyana get good is get rid of all of them control within fucking Parliament. Every one of them down from tongue to the yard. Every fucking body got come out of Parliament, then this country ain't get good. Other than that, we ain't get good for get good because everybody just ripping we off. We ain't getting nothing. Just see how the country punish it. We living in legal slavery. The terms legal slavery. You can't miss a day of work. The next day you starve. This is how we living. This is how poor people in this country living. If you decide to go and get a car, you gotta go and take out a mortgage from the bank. You gotta work every single day just to make the earnings reach. Plus, you gotta take the car and put it in HB and work a little taxi forget to pay off the auto sale. So it don't make no sense we doing, Mr. Glenlal.
I guess y'all get a message. And I don't think I could have put it over as eloquently as he did. It's the reality. But the witness tells us it's okay to work for $60,000 a month or $75,000 a month. And government doesn't have a responsibility to cushion the impact on the citizens of rising cost of living and so on. And so it's an abomination to give citizens $23,000 a month, approximately, as a subsidy, direct cash transfer. Good? That's the kind of country we live in. That's the democracy we live in. That is a group of people who care. Like I said, right? Like I said previously, I can't remember what I said previously. Right? Those are the people that care or claim they care. What do Guyanese have to do to change the status quo? It's simple. We all have to take our responsibility seriously. And that responsibility is to stand up and fight against any government that is as oppressive as the PPP. To take the kind of actions to make away every citizen in this country. The abuse and the wickedness and the vindictiveness and the oppressiveness of that group of people called the PPP. And work with them diligently, the Guyanese people, to understand that they have a role to play to change the status quo. And that role is ensure you get registered. Ensure every eligible voter. By the way, GCOM is doing a registration cycle right now. If your child is going to be 14 by now on October 14th, I think, have your child register. Any family member who has not been registered, have them registered, so long as they meet the criteria for registration. We have to do these little things in preparation for an election that we hope to use to get the PPP out of office. We have to sit and talk with every family member and show them these facts. Ministers of government are earning 17 times, at least 17 times, because I used the $1 million figure to calculate that 17 times. And so if they're earning $2 million almost, then we're talking about 34 times, or at least 30 times what the ordinary worker is getting as a minimum wage in the private sector. These are the things we have to sit and talk to our family members about. Let them understand that while we in Region 4 are faced with a rising cost of living like everybody else, grants are only given to Barbicians or Essequibians for the greater part, or the interior regions. Region 4 is the most populated region of the country. But the people in Region 4 do not deserve a grant of any sort. The caller spoke, the TikTokers spoke about the inability to build a home working every day of the week. The inability to buy a car working every day of the year, and what you refer to as legal slavery. I said it to you before. The politicians believe that every Guyanese, except themselves and their friends and favorites, must drive old cars. Check the provisions of the law. The car must be 4 years or older for you to get tax relief on it, if I can call it tax relief. But they can drive $90 million vehicle comfortably. Every time they carry and John in the PPP government, including the sweet woman and sweet man, could drive $90 million vehicles, tax-free. And the ordinary citizen is catching hell to buy a $3,000 vehicle, $5,000 vehicle. Imagine that. Now that I mentioned that $5,000 US again. Motor vehicle has become a necessity for the society in which we live now. The average family cannot afford one. Do you think that $1 million, $1.1 million, $5,000 a year as a direct cash transfer to a household might be able to assist them to get mobility? How about that? The witness, how about that? No, Guyanese don't deserve that. Guyanese do not deserve that. Then a minister of government can build a $200 million home after being in government for less than 5 years, just about 3.5, 4 years in government, can afford to build a $200 million home. But citizens who've been working for 20 years, 5 times what he has been in government, can build a 2-bedroom home. We know the kind of society we're living in. And we know what we have to do. But many of us are scared to do it. Many of us don't believe that we need to do it. We believe that somebody else should do it on our behalf. Why? Why somebody else should do it on our behalf? What happened to Awidis? Awidis not got responsibilities too? Huh? Thank you, Vernello. Vernello just sent me a raise and cash app. How many of you will join Vernello this morning and send a raise and cash app? Let's start taking our responsibilities serious. Each one, reach one, teach one. In just about 4 months in government, you grant yourself and your ministers 75% increase. In vacation allowance. Money way above your salary, which has never happened before and should not happen. But the ordinary man can't catch a break. In case y'all didn't hear it, I'm going to play it for y'all again.
Janet left office in August of 1999, and in comes Bar Jack Dio. Now again, remember I tell you the salary thing was brewing from since 92. 7 years now the salary thing brewing. And Jack Dio is aware of it because Jack Dio was Junior Minister of Finance, then he was Senior Minister of Finance, now he's President. And 1999, Jack Dio is faced with 2 arbitration tribunal awards. 2 arbitration tribunals. The Malcolm Rodriguez arbitration on teachers and the Aubrey Armstrong for public servants. So he dare not touch salaries of ministers. What do you think he did? And which escaped the eyes of the public. And I don't know, the only reason perhaps it escaped the eyes of the public because I have a feeling it might have not have been gazetted. But these things, when it comes to ministers, because ministers are constitutional post holders, these matters have to be gazetted. So I don't know how it can catch the eye. So instead of increasing the salaries of ministers, Jack Dio increased the vacation allowance of ministers. On December the 28th, 1999, in a memo to the clerk of the National Assembly, the then Secretary to the Treasury, Carol Ebert, advised of the approval given for vacation allowance for ministers to be increased from $240,000, which was equivalent to 1 month's salary, to $420,000, effective January 1, 2000. A 75% increase was approved by the new president, Jack Deo, a mere 3 months after he arrived in there. He arrived in there early August, I think it was on the 2nd or 4th or 5th or something like that. September, October, November, December, 4 months. 4 months after he approved of a 75% increase in vacation allowance. It would have been the first time in the history of this country, in the public service, or in the non-public service, that your vacation allowance exceeded your salary. And it was only for one categorization of people, ministers.
You all heard that again, right? Hope you're letting it sink in. Thank you, Kirk. Kirk dropped me a small piece there again. Thank you, Kirk. And that's on the Cash App. Alfred, I see you. CRL, I see you. Oh, you do, but as long as I hear none from you. I sent, I see you. Thank you all for your contributions to the Cash App and Zelle. It is 3 minutes to the 9 o'clock hour.
The People's National Congress Reform presents Emerald Splash, a Georgetown to Linden bus excursion and pool party on Sunday, September 22nd from Congress Place to the Toucan Complex poolside in Amelia's Ward. Music by Hot to Vibe Sound and LT One Man Band. Excursion tickets cost $5,000. Available at Congress Place to Fire. Venue entrance fee $1,000. Buses leave Congress Place at 9 a.m. sharp. It's the Emerald Splash bus excursion and pool party. Let's take a drive and bust a line with the PNCR.
You can get meat anywhere, but for the best cuts of chicken, beef, pork, mutton, and lots more, check out T&W Harris Butcher Shop, located in the East Ramvelt Market Meat Section. Call us on 609-7168, 641-4494. Ask for Rastaman. T&W Harris Butcher Shop for the best in fresh cut meats and lots more. Caller, you're on. Good morning. Caller, good morning. You're on. Caller, good morning. You're on.
You hearing me?
No, I'm hearing you.
Good. I'm saying morning. Yes. I'm saying that having Mr. Jordan on our side is a blessing. And I think every single social media influencer or any social media program that is on our side should start taking pieces from Mr. Jordan's interview or Mr. Jordan and start with you every Thursday and keep playing it back. Tongue it in. We got to take snippets from his lectures, as I would say, and his factual lectures, not the nonsense that we get after he's finished at 1 something in the afternoon on Thursdays. And I love that. I love the timing. That's one. It's going to throw that joker off, and the facts are coming out. I only hope that those things that call themselves journalists, those reporters, will do the same thing. Use Mr. Jordan, the stuff from Mr. Jordan, and go question him. They're getting free stuff to go question that man. They ain't got to do no research. Mr. Jordan is doing all the research with him. So now, snap it, go deal with him on his Thursdays. But I guess all of them are steered. But Mr. Jordan and get rid of these people. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. It's now 9 o'clock. It's 9 o'clock. And so it's time for me to leave you. It's a holiday morning, but it's a working morning for me too. Right? Thank you for tuning into the program. Let me say this. Anybody who wants that piece of recording there with Mr. Jordan talking about what Jack Dio did when he became president, hit me up on WhatsApp and I'll send it to you. I think I should be able to send it to you via WhatsApp. Hit me up, I'll send it to you. And those of you who have the skill, I would want you to take it and make it into a TikTok video or something, some sort, and let us make it go viral. I'm going to continue to extract these pieces, and we're going to continue to share them. They must go viral. Let everybody understand what we've been dealing with since then and what we're dealing with now, as the Jamaicans say. Y'all have a good day. Much love, blessings. If you feel like hanging out, come down to Club Twilight. We'll open the gates to you and we'll have some fun. It's holiday time. We could relax a little bit. What happened? Continue to support the program by sharing, inviting others to view and share, and continue to send us your Jill and your 2 cents and so on Cash App and on Zelle. We appreciate your assistance. We appreciate your cooperation. We appreciate your partnership. Have a good one. Blessings. Much love. Goodbye.